Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, July 30th. Earnings and economic events are in focus today after a down day on Wall Street yesterday. All three major indices closed in the red. The Dow lost 204 points, or about 0.5%. The S&P 500 finished lower to end its winning streak, off 18 points or 0.3%. The Nasdaq gave up 80 points or 0.38%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We are higher, 0.05%. It's a small gain, but it is positive. But today's action-packed. Today's one of the busiest days of the year. We get a ton of earnings coming out. We got a lot of economic data. These are going to be the key themes for today. On the economic data front, the U.S. First quarter reading of Q2 GDP. That's going to be the highlight. I mean, honestly, it's going to come in positive, but with like some weak underlying details is really what I expect to see out of that report. Then in the afternoon, you get the Fed. The Fed's going to be releasing its monetary policy statement. They're not going to be lowering rates. They're going to keep rates the same. But Powell's likely to be, expressing a more dovish tone in the press conference. That could be a bonus for the markets. Then, yesterday you had the U.S. and China. They concluded their recent two-day talks in Stockholm. They didn't reach an agreement. So, to extend the tariff truce. So realistically, it now lies with President Trump to decide whether he wants to approve an extension of this tariff pause or not. Palo Alto Networks, PANWs, they're said to be close to buying CyberArk, CYBR. That'd be a $20 billion deal. Figma, ticker FIG, that IPO is said to be oversubscribed by 40 times. Wow. On the earnings front, Cuervo, QRVO, Humana, HUM, Scorpion, STNG, Starbucks, VRT, and GE Healthcare. They all are trading higher after their earnings announcement. And after the bell today, we get earnings from Microsoft, Meta, Qualcomm, ARM, Lam Research, and Robinhood. So we got a lot going on the earnings front as well. So, now we got to quickly take a look at what's happening overseas. And, we're going to start off with the DAX. The DAX was lower, but it has since turned higher. We are seeing some gains there. It's up 0.15% or 36 points. Corporate earnings are the key focus. FTSE down 30 points or 0.33%. Energy stocks are higher in London, but the banking and the mining stocks are lower. That's why you're seeing a little weakness there. And the CAC in Paris is up 0.42% because, let's face it, they expect President Trump to make that announcement about the extension of the Chinese tariff rates, possibly today. We'll have to wait and see. Turning over to Asia last night, Asia was a mixed bag. I mean, the Nikkei fell 19 points. That's 0.05%. There's a BOJ meeting on Thursday, and expectations are for them to leave their rate unchanged, but there's going to be an uptick to their inflation forecast, is what I'm reading this morning. Hong Kong got hit down 1.36% or 347 points. With weakness in tech and financials, but the Shanghai market in China, was up 0.17%. The extension of the trade truce is really up to President Trump. The pause is set to expire on August 12th. We'll have to wait and see what that's happening. But they also have that Politburo meeting going on, and there could be stimulus coming out tomorrow morning from the Politburo meeting that's going on. Looking at oil this morning, and oil is trading lower. It was down a full percent. Now it's only down about 0.3%. You got WTI at $68.99 a barrel. You got Brent at $72.26 cents a barrel. Those API inventory data, their estimates, hey, it surged by 1.539 million barrels for last week. That's negative for oil. And later today, you get the EIA report. So that's going to be a key one that the market, especially the oil market, will be focused on. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update, Emily.
Bill, one of the busiest days of the year. Keeping track of all of this information is no small task. You're using your NewsWare, breaking it down into alerts. You're following all these events and capturing the information as it happens, which is a bunch of information, and we're going to get through the details throughout today's show. Now, of course, economic events remain a headline. We will get to those in just a moment. But before we get there, earnings action is still hot. And, the likes of Meta and Microsoft due out today. So let's dive in. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Yeah, there's hundreds of companies releasing, and it's hard to keep up with all of them. But realistically, we look at some of the highlights from last night. We got Starbucks, SBUX. They missed by 15 cents, but they did it on higher revenue. You look at the stock this morning, it's up 5.8%. But Visa delivered a beat. They beat by 13 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. That stock's getting hit. It's down 2.5% to 342.53. Yeah, that 338 is a key level that you really want to pay attention to. And then, of course, you want to talk about Wingstop, ticker WING, William Indy and Nancy Grace. They beat by 13 cents. They did it on higher revenue. That stock's up 15.42% this morning, over 15%. Wingstop. Upcoming after the bell, Meta Platforms, ticker META, they're going to be releasing their EPS is $5.83. Expected move is 6.16%. Microsoft, ticker MSFT, their EPS is $3.35. Expected move is 4.22% when they release. So yeah, a lot of earnings to pay attention to. There's other ones coming out after the bell, like ARM, Lam Research, and others are coming out after the bell. So, buckle up, get ready for a Fed meeting and more earnings to come, Emily.
And we're buckling up right here on NewsWare's Trade Talk, and we're able to sift through all of this, as I mentioned, because of NewsWare. Before we get to economic events, I have to point out that Wingstop was your pick of the day yesterday. I'm watching it on my screen. I just caught 335.07. That is up more than $44 or more than 15%. We will do a full check-in by the end of the show, but a little sneak peek there. Speaking of sneak peeks, a ton of economic data due out today, key economic data, along with that latest on monetary policy. And as you point out, it's not necessarily just the announcement, should come in as expected without a rate cut, but it's really that commentary from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell that will be widely watched and could be market moving. So, Bill, give us a rundown of everything we should be watching when it comes to the day's economic events.
Okay, let's go. 8:15 a.m., you get the ADP employment report. It should bounce back. At 8:30 a.m., we get the GDP report. Expectations are for it to come in at an annualized rate of 2.3% quarter over quarter for Q2. That would be 1.8% for the year. And remember last quarter, for Q1, it came in minus 0.5%. So that was the contraction. But the second quarter growth, it should really help out. This, the rebounds kind of suggest that the U.S. economy is regaining momentum after a sluggish start to the year. And then at 10:30 a.m., we get the EIA oil stockpiles report. At 2 p.m., we get the FOMC announcement. And then at 2:30, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is going to be having his press conference. Now, Fed governors Christopher Waller and Michelle Baumann, they could dissent. I wouldn't read too much into this because their dissent was really because they're looking to become the next Fed chairman when Jerome Powell's term expires in May, and they're politicking for it. So that's more politics than anything else. If you remember their dot plot from June, they didn't really change it. They still said 2 rate cuts for 2025. So if they were really that, dovish, they would have increased it, but they didn't. So I look at this as just politics more than anything else, just looking for that next big role. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic events happening today, Emily.
There is no shortage of market moving information on that front. Again, you're keeping track of that using your economic alerts and those alerts you have set up for Fed news and Fed officials following that commentary. And still, as if earnings action and economic events aren't enough, there's more market moving information you are keeping track of today using your NewsWare, breaking it down into alerts, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So as if there's more, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Well, I'm just doing a quick data check this morning. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 15 lower, 13 higher, and 2 unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. It's a mixed bag of action. And Netflix and Google and Apple are trading off, but the rest are higher. and you got a big load of earnings coming up. So you're not going to get a lot of news in some of these stocks. But I do see that Italy launched an investigation into Meta over abuses of its dominant position. Remember, Meta's earnings are coming out after the bell, so they're unlikely to comment. Tesla, TSLA, they signed a $4.3 billion battery deal with South Korea's LGES. In terms of Dow Jones 30 News, Johnson & Johnson, a Boston jury hits Johnson & Johnson with a $42 million verdict, and it's a asbestos baby powder case. I saw that yesterday late. Apple eyes JP Morgan to replace Goldman Sachs as its credit card partner. Visa, ticker V, they're bringing Google Pay integration to its fleet cards. That's positive. In terms of merger news, the EU pauses its $30 billion Mars Kellanova deal probe. Interesting. And Palo Alto Networks, PANW, Paul Apple, Nancy Williams, they're said to be close to acquiring CyberArk, CYBR, in a $20 billion deal. In terms of guidance news, Electronic Arts sees Q2 EPS 29 cents to 46 cents. Street estimate was 79 cents. Cuervo, ticker QRVO, Quinton, Richard, Victor, Oscar, they see Q2 EPS coming in $2 plus or minus 25 cents. Street estimate was $1.62. That's an uptick. Harley Davidson, Hog, ticker HOG, Henry Oscar Grace. They're continuing to withhold guidance. Now, because of the economic landscape and how they feel that they might get hit by European tariffs. Well, I don't think they're going to be, and that stock's really been, hit hard. So you could start to see a turnaround at Hog. Keep an eye on that. GE Healthcare, ticker GEHC, General, Henry, Edward, Charlie, they raised their full year 2025 adjusted EPS view to $4.43 to $4.63. Street estimate had it at $4.07. That's a big uptick. In terms of shareholders meetings, McKesson, MCK, Michael Charlie Kilo, they're having a shareholders meeting today. Starts at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. In terms of catalyst calls, we got Eli Lilly, ticker LLY, Larry Yellow. Citibank opens up a 90-day upside catalyst watch on shares of Lilly. Keep an eye on that one. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional NewsWire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, a lot of information to sift through, a lot to be watching, moves we're anticipating with the market. What is your pick of the day today?
Yeah, there's a lot coming out, but I'm going to go with Dexcom, ticker DXCM, David X-Ray Charlie Michael. Earnings are due out after the bell. EPS is 45 cents. Expected move is 10.02%. Now, the call volume's tight. On the call side, you get 2,684 calls traded versus 2,473. Positive. Open interest, 67,611 to 65,654. Positive. Major brokers do like the stock. They're putting nice price targets on and buy recommendations. So that's good to see. Remember, these guys make glucose monitoring systems. They made a change to their strategy, which caused the stock to pull back. They reversed back. So it should start to show into their earnings this quarter. They should start to really bounce back. So I do think we're going to see some gains. I honestly, I want to get in $88 to $89, somewhere around there. I mean, definitely under 89. I think that is doable. But that's my pick of the day. DXCM, David, X-Ray, Charlie, Michael, Emily.
Another earnings play today, Bill. We will follow that one along with you. And coming up, we will do a full recap on yesterday's pick of the day that we gave a preview earlier in the show for. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Let's talk Teva, TEVA, Tom, Edward, Victor, Apple. Hey, company says they're very confident about growing generics business. Remember that Keytruda drug from Merck, that comes off patent soon. So that'll be a big one for everyone. Oh, Palo Alto Networks to acquire CyberArk for $45 per share in cash plus stock. Told you about that earlier this morning. It just hit the tape. Amazon to pay New York Times at least $20 million in an AI deal. Ooh, yeah, they need to do that. That's a big one to have. Trump, India to pay 25% tariffs. You got to remember that the S&P 500 rebalancing is going to happen on the 31st. I mean, Apple Oven's being mentioned, Robinhood's being mentioned. There's other companies too. Procter & Gamble, PG. Yesterday, their CFO indicated that consumers under stress and shopping less. Google to sign EU's AI code of practice despite concerns. Oh, interesting. That's what I have for you this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading on this Wednesday, following all of this information, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Wingstop. We did mention it earlier in the show. You did give us a look at their earnings during earnings rundown. They reported a Q2 EPS of $1. That was 13 cents better than the analyst estimate of 87 cents. Revenue for the quarter came in at $173.33 million versus the consensus around the same. It was kind of in line, maybe slightly below. They did offer guidance. They see a global unit growth rate of 17% to 18%. It was previously 16% to 17%. The board also raised the company's quarterly dividend by 11% to 30 cents from 27 cents a share. Bill, I keep refreshing my screen on this one because I'm wondering if I'm catching this number correct, but I'm seeing $355.10. That is up $64.85 from yesterday's close, more than 22%. Do I ask, how did your call work out?
First off, your date is a little late. I'm at 355.15. So yeah, up 22.34%. I mean, you look at the stock yesterday, it opened up at 289.98. And then it fell down to 281.59. Now I said under I said under 290, but I was like, I wanted to wait a little bit. I wound up getting in around 283, something like that. But then the stock at the end of the day, it ran. It actually ran all the way up to 295 before closing at 290.30. I mean, it was a wild ride yesterday, but the data was good. And I had to keep my focus on my research that I did the day before, and everything looked good. So I wasn't really too concerned. But I did not expect a move of $64. It's almost 65 today, 22% higher, which is what we're seeing this morning. So Wingstop, big winner, Emily.
Big winner there, no matter how you slice it. I guess people are enjoying those wings. We will check in with you tomorrow about today's Dexcom pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.